Alrighty, this is the last one for today. Whew. We're back with Methough, episode 11. Today we're talking about Star Wars episode 7, The Force Awakens. And yeah, man, let's get straight into it. So when I first watched this movie, I enjoyed it quite a bit. Because I didn't know what to expect. Nobody knew what to expect. I had heard all the things that people said on the internet. Unfortunately, I had Han dying being spoiled for me. That really fucking pissed me off. Because the thing that really irritated me about that is that I wasn't even on a Star Wars video. I was literally in a video about something that wasn't even related to Star Wars. And I was reading the comments for the video. And they fucking got me. And I was like, you motherfucker. Because I would never forget it. Because they were like, oh, Mufasa dies. And then somebody commented like, well, everybody knows that nigga. And then they were like, oh, did I say Mufasa? I meant to say Han Solo. I was like, you motherfucker, dude. Like, I hope you got your nut off doing that, bro. Because you was such a fucking asshole. So, that shit pisses me off. But anyway, what I'm getting is that when I was going into this movie, outside of that being spoiled for me, I didn't know what to expect, right? And when I got through watching this movie, I was genuinely surprised on how much I enjoyed it. But then, over time, it started to settle in. And I was like, let me go watch this movie again. So I went to go see it in IMAX. And when I watched it, I was like, yeah, this movie is good. It's good. But there was something that was starting to be off with it. But I was like, this movie's still pretty solid. Then, it starts selling a little bit more. Then I start to see the reviews and I start to see people talk about it in discussions and stuff like that. And then my opinion and my look on it start to change just a little bit, not too much. And it mainly resides in the third act, but we're going to get to that. So first off, I want to start off. This movie has one of the best opening sequences I've seen when it comes to Star Wars movie. The opening sequence is so fucking clean, and it sets the tone and the mood and the villain so fucking well. And I love there was the one scene that blew my mind where I was like, holy shit, is when Kylo Ren comes down and he's talking to the dude and then he kills him, and then Poe shoots that bolt or light laser, whatever the fuck you want to call it, and he stops that shit. And he's just sitting there holding it. And he's like, go get him, blah, blah, blah. And then they have that whole discussion. And that fucking thing is still sitting there. It's still sitting there. Then after all of that, he's like, put him on the ship. And as he's walking away, that motherfucker flies off and hits the thing. That shit was so fucking dope. I know a lot of people don't like Kylo. They don't like his voice. They don't like him. That shit was fucking dope. We ain't never seen that in Star Wars. And I just watched all these fucking movies. Not even in the cartoons we seen something like that. That shit was fucking dope. I love that opening sequence so fucking much. Just, it's so good. The visuals of it. I'm going to go ahead and just get into the visuals before I start going back into the details. The visuals of this movie are fucking amazing. Look, say what you want about J.J. Abrams. I'm not the biggest fan of J.J. Abrams. But you can't deny this man has an eye for some visuals, man. And look, you can also attribute it to the day and age we live in. Technology is way better than what it was when George Lucas was doing the prequels and shit like that. But despite all of that, this movie, man, it's so fucking good. There's a lot of shots in this movie where you just like, damn, that looks fucking beautiful. Like, perfect example that I can think of, and I know this is way later in the movie, but we're talking about the visuals and style and stuff like that, is when they use the bigger Death Star, the more advanced, take out 5-6 planets at once Death Star. And like the scene where like he's looking out the window in his little whatever, well, not little ship, because those ships are big as fuck. But you get my point. Like when he's looking out the window and you see the laser come by and the room lights up from the laser, and like it's just, dude, that shit. J.J. Abrams had a lot of good visual flares, and like just when it comes to visual shit, and that's one of my favorite scenes too. Is like you just see sort of his silhouette from the red laser, just like when it's going across the window, and he's just standing there looking at that shit, and they blow up 5 planets and shit. Fucking dope, man. This movie has a lot of good visuals. The scene where they're escaping, in both parts like where Poe is escaping the First Order, that was dope. I love the visuals of that scene. Especially when Rey is flying the Millennium Falcon. I know a lot of people didn't like that, and we'll get into Rey in a little bit, but you know, I love that scene, especially when she cuts the engines off and that motherfucker starts to free fall and it like kind of tilts over and then like Finn fucking shoots the TIE fighter and then she cuts that motherfucker back on and oh my god, bro. That shit is fucking cool. The visuals in this movie are fucking cool, man. I gotta give the man credit. I gotta give your boy J.J. Abrams a lot of fucking credit. He knew what he was doing with this movie. He tried his hardest to please people. And I ain't gonna lie, when it comes to the first two acts of the movie, better yet, I 100% fuck with him. But we're just talking about the visuals right now, and the visuals in this movie is fucking dope. There's plenty of moments where you just look at it, you like, damn, that look good. As Angry Joe would say. What did he say when he was talking about a lamp? He's like, that lamp look good or some shit like that. What did he say? That's a good. I can't remember what he said. I think he said in his Order 1886 review. He's like, that's a good fucking lamp or some shit like that. But yeah, man, the visual in this movie is fucking dope. I love the way they established Rey. Very reminiscent of Luke, you know, very, very reminiscent Luke, and we're gonna get to that later on too. But I love how they establish her character at the beginning, that she's just this girl who's just working just to eat. That's all it is. She's just breaking down ships and selling scrap parts and shit just so she can eat. That's all. She has on a little rebel helmet while she's eating because she wants to be a pilot or get away or whatever. Real cool. Nothing too bad. Not overdoing it. Very, very subtle. I just like the way they establish her. She's not doing too much. She's just doing just enough. I like the way they establish her, though. They're getting way, way further into the movie. I like the way that Kylo uses the Force for torture. Because we ain't never really seen that. I mean, don't get me wrong. You get your Force chokes and shit like that. But we ain't never really seen somebody use it for torture purposes. You see what I'm saying? Like, just to outright fucking torture somebody. And I love when Kylo Ren does that shit. When he does it to Poe. When he eventually does it to Rey to a certain extent. But I love the way that they did that. I thought that shit was really fucking dope. And the way that he was doing that shit to Poe was just fucking, it was like, that shit looked like it hurt. Like, you can, like, I felt bad. I felt like I was hurting when he was doing that shit. So that was cool. The way that they had him using the Force like most people haven't done it. Because up until that point, we've only seen people Force choke people. That was it. But he's like, nah, I'm going to use this shit to fucking torture you. Like, I'm going to use the Force to fuck with your brain and shit, or whatever the fuck he was doing. Like that, some pretty cool shit. One of the things that always made me laugh was when Rey meets Finn for the first time, because she's just rolling with BB-8 and he has on Poe Dameron's jacket, and she starts running towards him, and he's like, and he starts dipping, and then she fucking hits him with her little staff. And she's like, where'd you get that coat from? And all that bullshit. All of that stuff was funny as fuck. And when he was trying to lie and say that he was with the Resistance, and he was like, she was like, oh, you're with the Resistance? He's like, yeah, I'm with the Resistance. Yeah, I'm with the Resistance. And he starts whispering that shit. That shit was funny to me. I don't know about y'all, but that shit was funny to me. I got to give your boy John Boyega his credit. He was showing his comedy chops. Like, I know he's done stuff like that before, you know, but that shit to me was fucking funny. I love the way he was acting in this movie and how funny he was in this movie, because that shit was funny. Because you can clearly tell he was lying, but he was trying to seem convincing, but it wasn't. But her crazy ass fell for it anyway. And I just love the way he delivered that line. He was like, I'm with the Resistance. He's like, I'm with the Resistance. And he like kind of whispered it. That shit was fucking funny. That was just me. I already talked about them escaping from the Force or the Force Order, the First Order. I already talked about that. That whole entire sequence is fucking dope. I don't see how anybody can hate that sequence. I genuinely don't. I don't give a fuck if it is Rey flying the Millennium Falcon. I don't care about any of that. They really didn't cover how that got there anyway. Well, no, they kind of did. They said dude stole it from him, but anyway. I think it should have been a little bit more than just a throwaway line of like, oh yeah, the nigga stole it from me. It should have been a little bit more than that. Damn, you know what would have been the perfect thing is if he said he would have lost it in the gambling game. Oh my God, I just not thought about that. Why the fuck didn't they just make that a line? That would have been way better than just like, oh, he stole it from me. It would have been better if he's like, oh yeah, I lost in a gambling game. Just like how he gambled against Lando to get the Millennium Falcon. Why didn't he just say that he lost finally at a poker game or at a gambling game or whatever you want to say at gambling, and he lost it? That would have been way better. But still, you get my point. That whole sequence is just it's fucking dope. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing right there. But yeah, man, that's pretty much it for the things that I like in this movie. Oh, the third act, the battle in the third act, or somewhat of the third act. Well, let's see. The space battle. The space battle is what I like. The space battle. But fuck, I'm trying to figure out for this final one, should I make it when they're at Mos Eisley, or should I make it about the space battle? Fuck it, we're gonna go more towards Mos Eisley. So I'm not gonna lie to you, that the battle at Mos Eisley was pretty fucking dope. As a matter of fact, here, I'm gonna do this because I am kind of conflicted on which one I want to do. So I'm gonna do this. When they're first coming in Mos Eisley, that's what I like. When they're flying over the lake, the visuals on that was fucking dope. And then them actually getting into the fight and doing all that. But the actual space battle where Poe Dameron was fucking snapping and he was just pop, 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 like taking niggas out left and right, that shit was fucking dope. I love the space battle at the end. The shit that was happening on the ground, I'm about to get into, but the actual space battle with Poe, yo, man, they always talk about how Anakin was the best and how Luke was the best, but I'm telling you, Poe Dameron making them niggas look like fucking trash. Like, Poe was out there just fucking snapping. It's ridiculous. It's fucking ridiculous. But yeah, we got to get into the negatives. That's the biggest thing, though. I got to get into next because also I'm running out of time as well. So I got to get into my negatives. But both of those were really dope battles, though. Really good scenes in the movie. So finally, the two negatives that I have is I did not like, and this is what I meant by when I was talking about it earlier, about how my perspective started to change over time, is that I didn't like, because when I first watched it, I really didn't pay attention to it as much, and then even when I watched it the second time, I kind of picked up on it, but I didn't really think about it too much, is that how Rey learns how to use the Force powers way too quick. I didn't like that. And that leads into my second point on how she becomes way too overpowered by the end of this movie. I didn't like that. I didn't like that at all. That really pisses me off. Because with me going back and watching these movies like I am, and she is basically the new Luke. You can't say that she isn't. That is the whole point of her character. She is supposed to be the Luke of this generation. My problem is that what she accomplished at the end of one movie, in the final act of one movie, it took Luke 3 movies to do. 3 fucking movies to do. She already learned how to use the Force. She already learned how to use Jedi mind tricks. She learned how to overpower somebody with the Force, like when she was trying to get the lightsaber, or better yet, when Kylo Ren was trying to pick up the lightsaber with the Force, and he couldn't, and he's like, what the fuck is going on here? And then she uses the Force to get it. That to me, nah, bro. No. You're giving her way too much too early. I did not like that shit. That is too much too early for a character. By the end of the first movie, the only thing that Luke had done was use the lightsaber to deflect a couple of bolts from a fucking droid, and then use it to shoot the little missile laser thing down the exhaust port of the Death Star. And that's it. That was his extent, or his that I didn't mean to say extent, but that was like his use of the Force. His full use of the Force in the first movie. It wasn't until the second movie when he started to use the Force a little bit more to lift objects and stuff, but then even after that, he really wasn't using the Force for much, like when he was fighting Vader and stuff like that. So my thing is, how come at the end of this movie, she can learn how to use Jedi mind trick, she can learn how to use the Force, and not only that, she can use the Force to deflect what Kylo was doing. So when Kylo was torturing Poe with the Force, she was able to block that shit. And mind you, she's not going up against some random nigga who just started being a Jedi or a Sith the other day, right? Like, it'd be different if Kylo Ren start doing that shit the same time she did. Then that would make more sense. But you're talking about he has been trained by Luke. He has been trained by Snoke. So he is not only well-versed in the light side, or at least has some knowledge of the light side, he has knowledge of the dark side. And you're telling me that this girl who didn't even know that she had the Force, didn't know how to use the Force, barely knows how to use the Force, can do that shit in the first fucking movie? Use the Jedi mind trick that she didn't know nothing about? That's what pisses me off the most. It makes sense with Obi-Wan when he did it, because he had been a Jedi for so long. He was like in his fucking 50s or his 60s or whatever. So that makes sense. He's been a Jedi for a long fucking time. Yoda doing that would make sense because he's been a Jedi for a long fucking time. They know about these things. She didn't know anything about these or about this. Up until, I guess you could say she did when Kylo tried to do it. But that's still not good enough. You're not just going to know how to do that off rip because somebody tried to do it to you. That pissed me off when I seen it this time around, because that's not fair. It's not. And I'm not going to get in that whole bag of her being a Mary Sue or the SJW shit that came with it. I don't care about any of that. I'm looking at it objectively. And objectively, that's not how you start off a character. Especially when you're trying to make her as close to Luke as possible. Which in this point, they're really not, because they gave her so much so quick. If they were, they wouldn't have gave her all of that. But that shit really pissed me off, man. That's too much to give a character at the beginning. And especially when you get to the part to where she's fighting Kylo. She's never used a lightsaber before. Okay, yes, she has a little staff thing that she uses. Cool. But that's completely different from a lightsaber. That is completely different from a lightsaber. That is not the same thing. And the simple fact that she's using that and she's beating him is what really pissed me off too. And I don't want to hear that bullshit of, oh, well, he had got shot before then. Fuck that. I don't want to hear that. That's not a good enough excuse. This dude is trained in the light side and the dark side. He was taught by Luke and Snoke. One who's a Jedi master, one is who's a fucking Sith Lord, and he was trained under both of them, and he's getting his ass beat by a chick who can't even, she barely fucking knows how to use a lightsaber. She just picked that bitch up right then and there and used it, and you getting your ass beat? Nah, bro, fuck that. And even Snoke said that shit, and that's what pissed me off even more. Don't acknowledge it and make it seem like it's cool. It's like what I was saying about Logic on his fucking album. I know this is taking a weird detour, but it's to prove a point. Just because you acknowledge something doesn't make it okay. Just because Snoke sits there and he's like, oh, you got your ass beat by a girl who doesn't even know how to use a fucking lightsaber, doesn't make it like, oh, well, since they acknowledge it, we're just going to go ahead and ignore that and just say, yeah. No, bro, fuck that. She shouldn't have been able to do that. They made her way too OP, because now, at this point, there's nowhere, like, okay, yes, there is there is somewhere for her to go, right? She can still go up, but it makes that journey less exciting. That's why you start the characters so low. That's why you start them at the bottom. That's why when you see Luke defeat Vader at the end of episode 6, before he does what he does with Palpatine, it feels satisfying because you was able to see him grow. You was able to sit there and see him train with Yoda and learn the Force and learn how to do shit. That's what makes the original trilogy so satisfying to watch, is seeing the progression of Luke, seeing the progression of Han, seeing the progression of Leia, seeing the progression of these characters. But when you start her off where she can do these things off rip, I'm surprised they didn't give her the shit that Kylo was doing, where she can stop a boat in midair and hold it there. Why not? If you're going to give her the Jedi mind trick off rip, you're going to get it to where she can fucking reflect, or whatever you want to call it, because with the Force you can't really say, but you know what I'm saying, like where she can basically reflect the shit that Kylo was trying to do with the Force to fuck up her mind or whatever the case may be. If she can do that, if she can beat him in a lightsaber battle, where, like, why not give her some more shit, number one? But why would you want to see her progress after that? Because then at that point, you're just like, oh, well, damn, she's going to become even more OP. She's just going to become even more OP than she was before. I just don't like that, man. I don't. Character is very important to me. Don't get me wrong. To me, story is important as well. I can get by with story, but to me, character is what you need the most. And when you do shit like that, you're doing a lot more damage than good. Because now, like I said, to reiterate my point, when you have the sequels, yes, there's places for her to go, but because you've already seen her conquer so much in her first fucking movie, you're not gonna be excited. Only thing you're gonna say is, well, of course she's gonna be able to do that. I mean, look what she did in the last movie. Oh, now she can do this? Well, I mean, what the fuck did you expect? She did all of that in her first fucking movie. Come on, man. I don't like that shit. And I don't want to get too much into this, because like I said, I'm limited on time. I'm about to go. But my thing is that it would have been a lot more palatable is if they would at least like show the hints of her using the Force before then. That would at least been more of a valid excuse for all of that. I still wouldn't like them doing all of that and going as far as they did with her and having her being able to do so much in this movie. But that would have been a lot more palatable. Is like she just used the Force like every once in a while or something. Like, I get it with the ships. Cool. Let's say that she can do ships. She knows how to go in there. She knows what parts to take that gives her money. She know how to break them down. Whatever. Cool. Okay, you established that. So you can give her that benefit of the doubt of flying the Millennium Falcon, even though she didn't really even know how she did all that. And that was another throwaway line that I was kind of like, really? Like basically after that scene, even though it was awesome, after she does all that, Finn was like, hey, how did you do that? And she was like, I don't know. I flew a couple of ships, but I don't know how I did all that bullshit. And it's just like, huh? You only flew a couple of ships and you was able to do all of that? But at least that was something. Unlike with the Force shit, there was nothing. And they gave her everything. But overall, I still fucks with this movie, though. I really do. To me, it's just that final part. Just that final act where she fights Kylo. Really Hyndine, mainly because that got spoiled for me, so I didn't really give a shit about that part. And I'm pretty sure they only did that because Harrison Ford wanted to die a long time ago when it came to this series. From what I understand, he was supposed to die in Empire Strikes Back, but they brought him back in Return of the Jedi, and then of course in this one. So he was like, nigga, fucking kill me off so I can go fucking do whatever other bullshit I want to do, and I don't have to be in these shitty movies anymore. And I'm not saying that the movies is shit. I'm saying that's what he was thinking. Because if y'all know how Harrison Ford is, he's a character. So I'm pretty sure that's what he was thinking. He was like, if y'all don't fucking kill me so I can get out of these goddamn movies, I'm gonna fucking scream. But yeah, man, it's still a very solid movie, though. Is it very reminiscent of A New Hope? Absolutely. There's a lot of callbacks to A New Hope. But it's still a very, very, very solid movie. It's just that final act with Rey and how much they give her is what really pissed me off watching it this time around. But I don't want it to deter y'all from watching it if you haven't seen it. It's still a very good movie. A lot of good scenes. The visuals are very fucking good. And it's a solid movie. A very solid movie to start off this new trilogy. And it's seeming like that's the only good movie in this trilogy, because episode 8, which we're going to get into, is a complete clusterfuck. And then already the reviews for episode 9 are not looking good. But I will say this, though. A lot of people have a bias towards this new trilogy where they want to shit on it regardless. I don't. So I'm not going to take those reviews into consideration. But I have been seeing where they already talking about the reviews are pretty bad. But I'm not going to take those into consideration at all until I go see it for my damn self. And then I'll say whether or not it's bad. But yeah, man, that's it. I caught myself up. Holy fucking shit. For the most part, I still got episode 8 I need to watch. I got that shit going downstairs. I mean, I paused it, of course. I'm about halfway through. All I got to do now is get some gameplay footage for these, and I'm fucking done, dude. I'm fucking done. I think about an hour's worth of gameplay, and I'll be good. Whew. Whew, I'm sweating like a motherfucker in here too. I need to close this fucking vent. That's what it is. The heat's on. I got 2 computers running with the fucking vent on and the heat's running. A nigga in here sweating his fucking ass off. I'm done.